Welcome back to another episode of The Alarmists. And this week we have a doozy. We've got Franke Previte and John Dinicola, and we're going to be talking about Dirty Dancing. It's been almost 40 years since that iconic film has come out. And Franke Previte and John Dinicola are going to sit there and talk about the history of this film. They had great songs that came from it. Hungry Heart. In the time of my life, they were Academy Award winners. We are going to have an exceptional show and get an insight of what it took to write those great songs and how they made their way into this iconic film. Franke Previte, John Dinicola, come on down. Does a boy from Jersey and a guy from Long Island find
Long Island,
all this glory?
Well, we had to find each other first.
So give the viewers a little backstory so that they know all about you guys.
Backstory. I was in a band called Frankie and the Knockouts, which was
I remember it well.
Millennium Records. Jimmy Einer was the president of that label.
A genius.
And one day he decided that he wanted to close up shop and sell us to MCA. So he did. And MCA decided they wanted us to sound like Night Ranger, which was not a great move.
Remember Night Ranger? No.
That was a good band, but we already were
Not you.
established as a group and had hit records. And I didn't think trying to sound like Night Ranger was the right move for us. And so MCA dropped us, and I went back home. And in that band, Tico Torres was the drummer, who was eventually
Bon Jovi, right?
the drummer for Bon Jovi.
Right.
So I came home and I started writing for the next Frankie and the Knockout record, which would be the fourth album. And I was going to this guy's place called David Prater, and he lived in Montclair, New Jersey. And he had like a little recording studio in his basement. And one day he just said to me, I've been working with this guy who has some really great music. I want to play it for you. So he played me a track, and I said, you know what? I really love that track. I really like it. Maybe you think I could write something to it. And so he goes, well, it's this guy named John Dinicola, and here's his number. Give him a call. So I call up John. I said, I really like this track. And so he said, well, go ahead, write something to it. So the first song John and I ever wrote together was a song called Hungry Eyes.
Oh, my God. That was your first song?
First song
Yeah,
we
that
wrote
set
together.
the bar a little high, fellas.
yeah.
Well, then we wrote a bunch
Look,
of other
you had
songs.
Frankie in the Knockouts, so you get a free pass. But poor John.
Yeah, that's
Well,
true.
The bar was high, but we seemed to be able to high jump that bar because we also wrote "Time of My Life."
Oh my God! So speaking of high jumping, is this really true that your dad was an opera singer? Were you one of those guys who like went in the shower and the windows would start shaking because you were singing in the shower? I mean, what? How did this affect you? Opera, huh?
I'm still top bill in my shower.
It's reinforcing, it's very reinforcing. When you wake up and you're not feeling so secure, the shower, that reverb, that natural sound, it just can reinforce any lack of confidence.
I'll tell you what, and the steam that comes up, boy, I can chirp in the shower.
All right, man, it's a little too much information, all right?
It could also make the bad notes linger longer too.
Yeah,
so.
that's
Linger
true.
longer.
And the
There's a
windows.
lot of
Linger
else
longer.
there.
That's a title for a song. Linger longer.
Yes, I've been.
So tell me
linger
about your
longer.
dad, Frank. Tell me about
I
your
can
dad,
linger
your
longer than
operatic
you.
Dad. Give us a little snapshot of your dad.
A little what?
A snapshot, a little, what was it like in your house with an opera singer?
Well, growing up, my mom and dad met taking voice lessons from the same vocal coach. So I am a product of their duet. And so always hearing music in my, from when I was little, the first I can remember was hearing my father sing at Convention Hall in Asbury Park. There was about 5,000 people in this big hall, and I was sitting on my mother's lap, and my father was doing Pagliacci.
Oh my God.
And I remember him rehearsing the song in the house all the time. And so I kind of knew the song. And so right before he went to hit the big high C, I
I was
stood
just
up
gonna
on
say,
my mother's
Pachi,
lap and
you
I
better grab
belted
the
the note.
chandeliers, man.
I belted that high C. And that was my first gig.
Wow.
And my father said, well, the place went crazy. They started laughing, and my father was, my son,
Wow. How old were you? How old were you then?
4.
I think he left a very good impression on you.
That's a little positive reinforcement.
So you guys have for both of those songs you got Academy Award nominations? How did that work?
Just the ones, excuse me, just Time of My Life.
Time of My Life. Now that's got to be like, anybody to get nominated for a Grammy in the music world. Okay, that's a commonality, but to go to the next level and get an Oscar nomination for a song you guys wrote, that must have been surreal. Even now looking back, I can't imagine, what that must have felt like.
John, what did it feel like to you?
Yeah, well, yeah, you can't explain it. It's it's a little bit of walking on air. I would say Oscar night, and Frankie can confirm. You kind of go through it like, a robot in a way, because you're sitting there while we're sitting in the audience. First of all, we're meeting all. I
was
can
going to
remember
ask you, who did you meet that night?
John Candy was so nice, and went out of his way. Burt Lancaster,
Oh,
and of
hero.
course the famous Jack Nicholson came by to our table. It's your night, fellas. Enjoy it. And so all that, yeah.
You got
But
any
that was
blow?
that's after we that's after we won. So I believe. So the first part of it is you're sitting there, and Frankie and I talked about this. Every other song that was nominated had this big, gigantic stage, production of it, and then our song, it was it just came on small. I mean, I think it was Bill and Jennifer. I can't remember.
It was.
But it was just them two and like a track or something. It wasn't. Just didn't.
But you know what? You know what that tells you?
Well, we thought it told us we weren't going to win, but we were wrong. What do you think?
What? It's about the song. That's what made it so amazing. You didn't need all those fireworks.
But remember Frank, what was the other song? Well, it was Beverly Hills Cop, but then there was the one from
where
African singing thing, and they all came down the hall, the halls, and it was like 100 people, and we just so. The whole thing is kind of surreal. You get your name called, and you're like, and And
did you prepare a speech?
Frankie I had mine. I was short. Frankie had his, and Donnie Markowitz is the other co-writer on The Time of My Life. The clock is as soon as you. I think it starts before you even get up there. The clock, you see this big clock ticking.
And I was in the middle of the row. And I couldn't get out. I was in the middle of the row, and I said to you guys, if we win, don't go up there because, they're going to start the clock on us.
I think they started as we walked.
And the clock is ticking. And I'm like, oh,
it always goes. It always goes too fast. I like a couple of years with Sinatra. I'll never forget. I was in the press room, and Sinatra was on his 80th birthday. Was getting a special Grammy award, and all of a sudden. They just yanked. I mean, this is fucking Sinatra. You don't do that to Frank Sinatra.
Really? They had the clock running on him.
They went to commercial break. What the audience didn't see was, you're fucking kidding me. They went to black. I'm talking, and the camera went away. He couldn't fucking believe it.
He should have handed the Grammy back to him.
Yeah. It's rude. It's rude. I to this day, it's rude. You see it. I didn't see it too much on this last Oscars, though. They seem to be okay with it.
Well, this last Oscar, I don't know what to make.
I liked it.
Did anybody really care?
I don't know if anybody cared, but
depressing group of films I've ever fucking seen.
I liked the way they did it. I thought it was less pompous. It was more just down to earth. And
I miss the Golden Globes where everybody's drunk and Christine Lottie's in the bathroom when she gets the announcement that she won.
So talking about Golden Globes, John, do you remember who gave us our Golden Globe?
Yes. Sammy Davis and Liza Minnelli.
Oh
No, Liza Minnelli was
That
the
was the
Academy
Oscar. That was
Award.
the Oscar.
Yeah. So Liza Minnelli and
Yeah,
what's his name?
yeah. The guy,
Um,
the
the guy
diminutive fella from
who plays,
Arthur.
yeah, from Arthur. Yes, exactly.
oh,
Dudley Moore.
Dudley Moore. Oh my
So
God.
who was the woman? Who was the woman
There
then?
was no woman,
It was just Sammy Davis?
just Sammy Davis.
No, I think you're wrong. There was somebody else.
Go put that up, brother.
Yeah?
Yeah.
I
Do
thought,
I need
you
to?
sure it
Do I
wasn't
need to
Liza
put my
Minnelli twice?
referee hat on?
No, it was just Sammy
I remember he said Franke Previte.
He
Perviti.
called you Praviti?
Yeah.
Yes.
Oh my
Can't get
God.
my
What
eye off
was
of
he like,
you.
Joe Pesci and my cousin Vinny? You?
Yeah. Yeah. And I think he got mine wrong too. It was Dinicola, which
Right.
also Minnelli got wrong too.
Let's get your names out there. It's Frankie Previte and
Correct.
John Dinicola.
Yes.
There
All
you
right.
go,
I
Jess.
get to live.
Jesse
I
James.
get to live.
You got the lift.
Jesse
Now,
Nash
I've
James.
had the time of my life is considered part of ASCAP's 20 greatest songs ever written.
Go figure. That
Yeah.
these
That
two
must have been
guys,
really
these
good
two
with the
Italians,
girls, you know?
do that.
Two Italians.
Were you guys married when that happened? Were you married?
I was not.
So what do you do when you get an honor like that and you're looking to meet a beautiful young babe? Do you come on, let's be honest. Do you use the Academy Award as a prop to like get the babe?
I didn't need it. I didn't need it. I didn't need it. I can speak freely because I wasn't with anybody that one of the few couple of years of my life where I wasn't. But yeah, I mean, it was already in
So
the
that
making.
was like an afterthought, you know, like,
It wa-
oh, you're out
it was
with the
already-
babe. Oh, by the way, I have an Academy Award.
Right. Yeah, no, it
Will
was.
you sleep with me now?
How about now?
Well, if
That's
you get the Golden
incredible.
Globe, maybe.
Yeah,
Yeah,
right. if you were sober enough to remember.
Yeah. Now, one of the things that struck me, and maybe Frank has a different idea, growing up in New York City and hanging out in New York City, being in LA, things were closing up at 1:00 or it was like, it seemed like very anticlimactic. It was like the Oscars were over. Everybody was going home. This wasn't much happening. I didn't think. I mean, there was some after parties, but it was it wasn't like New York City where people were.
New York City, you could be walking out of a club and suddenly it's 7 a.m. and you got light in your face.
Absolutely, without a doubt.
I remember it well. Those were the
Did
days.
you think it was sort of?
About it.
Did you think it was kind of tame, Frankie, or no?
I did. I brought my parents
All right.
because
brought your parents.
without them, there's no me.
You're a good
Right.
boy, Frankie Previte.
And so I had my
brought
mom
your
and dad
parents.
sitting left and right of
Right.
me. And my father, he's like listening to all the songs, and he goes, "I just heard all the songs. You're gonna win." And I go, "Dad, do not put the Maloiki on me."
Yeah.
Oh my! But that, you know what? As much as I'm teasing you about that, that has got to be a great moment when you get to bring your parents to the awards. I mean, come on,
It was an unbelievable, beyond the dream moment.
Yeah.
And I guess Vestron Films picked us up in a limo, and we flew out there first class, and we stayed in beautiful hotel rooms. And so all of that, to be able to share that with my mom and dad, who's always supported me. This happened to me, I was 40 years old.
Wow.
My career as, being a rock star was like dwindling out.
It's now or never.
Yes, the flame had flickered. And so, this happened. And it was like my parents, when I moved home after rock bands had dissolved, and they just said, "Take the apartment downstairs. Don't you dare quit. Here's $20 for a voice lesson."
Wow.
That's
And
awesome.
But you know something, parents, they don't get enough credit. But if you have really good parents and come from a really grounded household. It's amazing what kind of impact they
Yes.
have.
Yeah. And I think John and I both came from a solid foundation.
Yeah,
You
well,
know?
probably similar. Yeah, I mean, my parents were very supportive, and same thing. My dad was always with the $20. Where you going? You gotta here's $20. You know,
Exactly.
And my
Yeah.
dad used to apologize with $20.
uh,
You gotta,
I'm sorry, I only got a 20.
I'm sorry. Did the belt hurt?
oh,
Mine
there's
used
quiet
spoons.
money. Some
Italians
quiet
use
money.
spoons.
Oh my God.
I don't want to spoil the mood, but my mom was in the hospital, so
Yeah.
my short speech was just about her and getting the help at the hospital that she was at, and so
Thank
it was for me it was very high and low because obviously that's a high, and then my mom died 30 days later, so
Wow, but at least she got to know. At
she
least
got to see it every time I'd visit her at a hospital. Before that, she'd as soon as I walk in the room, my son, he wrote the song, "The Time of My Life." She was able to brag about it. And,
It
That's
sounds
great.
like
And,
a cliche, but we need that.
I know what the
We need
funniest,
that nurturing. We need that
the
nurturing.
funniest line is when Baby's mom in Dirty Dancing says, "I think she gets it from me." My mother said that all the time.
My wife always and I always joke about anything negative. She always goes, his side. And I'm like, her side.
Yeah, yeah, right.
Why do you think Dirty Dancing to this day resonates with people the way it does?
I think it's a culmination of the stars aligning, meaning the little movie itself, but
The
Patrick
little
Swayze,
movie that could.
yeah, Patrick Swayze, the becoming of age of this young girl, Patrick Swayze, and how people embraced him, Johnny Castle. He really played himself. That was
Jerry
really
Orbach also, the parent.
and then you having a song like "Time of My Life," which was like the 150th song that they had listened to, and it was the last song before they were going to go and film that last scene out of sequence to a Lionel Richie song.
Oh, no,
And
no, no.
so they came in, and I guess it was either Emil Ardolino or someone walked in and went, "Wait a minute, there's one more cassette." And they go, "Well, what the hell? We might as well
Wow.
listen to it." And so when they played it, Kenny Ortega was, "Is it because it's the last song, or is this song really good?"
Well, obviously, we all know the answer to that question.
Right.
Isn't that amazing that it's like you can't write that in a movie script, I mean,
I know.
no, wait, we've got one more. And then it
Exactly.
ends up being
Right, right.
the song that
That's
changes
true.
your life and is the hit of a generation.
Yeah.
Unbelievable.
That's
Wow.
true.
Now people
I-
need to know about Jimmy Einer because that man, he was a incredible, he was the idol maker. He could take something and he could make it a success. Tell me a little bit about your experiences with him and what you know about him, and give the viewer a little education because they need it.
Yeah, back in 1981, I was selling cars out of my driveway, and making enough money to kind of survive, so I didn't have to play in a cover van, and I was writing songs,
Kiss
and
of
I
death.
met this guy named Burt Padell, who was
He was my accountant.
Get out.
Yeah,
He was my accountant as well.
Yeah, for Franco, Weinberger, Padell.
Yeah. Padell, Nadell, and Feinberg.
Yeah. Look, I won't tell
So,
guys. All right, I was going to get to that at the end.
Bert says to me, I don't know the first thing about good songs, bad songs, but I know a lot of people. So give me your cassette and I'll send it out.
So
And
Bert was responsible for this?
Yes.
Holy
Yes.
shit, that's crazy.
And
Wow.
that's why I thank Bert.
Did you ever
Padell.
go in his office?
Of
He had
course
the
I
best
did.
office.
Hundreds of times.
He was a memorabilia fanatic.
Oh yeah.
I was one of his favorite clients because I was the only one that ever thanked him on the Academy Awards.
Oh, good move.
Yeah, well, it was true. Without Bert, just like without my parents, Bert sent it to Jimmy. Jimmy heard it. And what Jimmy heard in my voice was, I used to sing a cappella when I was a kid. And so Jimmy came from this group called the Earls, who did a song called Remember When. And that was very popular back in the 70s or 60s. So he heard in that voice of mine that Italian tenor. And so when he
There's
heard
the
the tape,
opera. There's the opera.
I came in and he sat me down. He goes, I listened to your tape. He goes, if you can write 3 more songs as good as these songs, I'll give you a deal.
Oh.
And so part of that deal making was his staff, that with his brother Donnie, with Ken Franklin, with a bunch of different people that sat there and A&R'd, and they said, you know what, there's not a hit song, but we really like his voice. So let's give him a deal. So I wrote 3 more songs. One was She's a Runner, Annie Goes Hollywood. I hadn't written Sweetheart. Sweetheart was the last song I wrote before we went in to record. And Jimmy said, it's really a pop song. And, you know, I'm afraid if you put that bullet in the gun, radio's going to like think you're a pop band and you want to be a rock and roll band. So he goes, so what do you want to do? I said, load the gun. I said, if we got a chance to get a hit, man, load the gun.
Worry about the other stuff later.
Yep.
Don't you miss those days? Because we don't have that intimacy.
It's so
We don't have
sad.
that room to grow, room to develop.
There's-
It's like, you know,
There's no radio anymore.
no, there's no record companies. It's 6
No.
guys.
No.
You know, I mean, listen to the type of music that's out there. It's all one-dimensional for the most part.
It's interchangeable music. You could put the same singer on, you know, 5 songs later, and it could be, who is it? You know?
So are we
The
stuck in
tracks
this?
all sound like.
Are we stuck in this conundrum for
Yeah,
forever?
because-
I mean, when is this going to change? We don't
Yeah.
have any heart in our music anymore. You know, everything.
No.
Well, you know, the record companies have it too easy now because the artist does all the work. They, you know, they get like, you know, 10 million hits and all this.
You went to Russia, and you composed a song called "One World." First of all, I was in Russia in the early '90s, and it was quite an amazing experience. When did you go and do this?
91.
Oh, so you were there around the same time I was there.
Yeah.
It was, you know, I'll never forget the guy that picked me up, and he's smiling, and I go, why are you smiling? He goes, the bus is here. And I'm like, oh, okay, you know, and he keeps on smiling, like almost manic. And I go, why are you smiling like that? He goes, the bus is here. Last week, we waited 1 week until the bus came here. I said, oh, I'm very happy now. And the other
It's a
thing
trip.
that happened to me was my first meal in Russia. I go and they bring me to a Cold War cafeteria. First of all, I didn't even know about, you know, I didn't even know that this, you know, that this was even a cafeteria. So the woman brings me a plate. She puts it in front of me, and I'm looking at it, and I go, what is this? And she goes, it's meat. And I go, okay, it's the beginning. What kind of meat? Is it chopped meat? Is it chicken? She goes, be happy, it's meat.
Oh,
They used to feed us in for breakfast. They get a fish head in gelatin.
oh,
And this fucking fish looking at you.
oh.
And
Yeah,
then they
stop
put a
staring
bottle.
at me.
They put a bottle of vodka next to it that was like syrup. You
You're the
poured
only
this
country
vodka
in the
and it was
world
like
where a
thick,
bottle of vodka
like
is cheaper than a
syrup.
bottle of water.
Oh,
Ah,
So you worked with Cyndi Lauper, you worked with Barry Mann, you worked with the legendary Mike Stoller of
Yep.
Lieber and Stoller, Diane Warren, who was
Yep.
queen of the music world for the longest time, Desmond Child.
yeah.
Tell us about that. And you ended up working with Cyndi after that. So give us a little backstory. Nobody that's watching this probably remembers that. So give them a look-see of what that was about.
You know, there was 25 American songwriters chosen to do a project called Music Speaks Louder Than Words. And we went and wrote with the top Russian songwriters with interpreters. So you you went there, you got introduced to all these 25 Russian songwriters, and you were at a hotel across the street from the Kremlin. And this
Wow.
hotel was a mile square. It was huge.
Wow.
And so all of these songwriters came in and they, you know, performed their songs so you could hear who you might connect with. And there was one Estonian songwriter called Sergei Minukian, and he was blind.
Oh,
And he came in and he sat down at the piano, and nobody told him he wasn't Ray Charles.
was
But
he
this-
white? Was he a man of color?
Of course, he was white, but he started chirping, and he was like, "Oh man, we want to write with him." Everybody wanted to write with Sergei,
Wow.
and so they said, "No, everybody can't write with Sergei. So we're going to put all the Russians' names in the hat, and you're going to put your hand in the hat, and you're going to pull out who you're going to write a song
We
with."
have grab bag night. Grab bag night.
So
in
grab
Russia.
bag night. I stick my hand in the hat, and I pull out Sergei. Of course,
Good, man.
you know,
Did they
I-
try
I-
now? Now when we talk about Russia these days, it's so. I feel like I'm on an episode of Rocky and Bullwinkle. We get Squirrel. We get them to come on our side, the dark side. I
Yes.
mean, what was your? We even back then I came there going, okay, are they watching me? Are they going to try to turn me?
Well, I was in a hotel, and one of the washcloths or something got misplaced, and the maid came in, and she couldn't find the washcloth, and she comes running down the hall screaming to me, "Stop! Stop!" And I'm going, "What the hell's going on?" So the interpreter goes, "She can't find the washcloth, and so they'll take it out on her. You got to tell her where it is."
She'll get 20 lashes. You lost the
Yeah,
washcloth. Bend
Siberia for this woman.
over. Oh my God.
And I remember being on an elevator, and the KGB came on along with me. So it's me and these two KGB agents. And the guy goes, "Frankie, you want to change rubles for dollar?"
Oh, yeah.
And I knew it was against the law. They said, "Do not exchange any money with anybody." And I'm like, "No, we give you 5 rubles for $1. No, 22 rubles. No."
It looked great.
Tried to arrest me to hold me hostage.
Yeah, it looked great. Frankie Previte held hostage by
What the hell they
Russian
want me
KGB.
for? They got Barry Mann, Mike Stoll. They got all these famous people. They want me?
You think it was a setup? You really think it was a
Absolutely.
setup?
Absolutely.
Now, John, I'm amazed when I was reading your background. You discovered Maroon 5. You discovered Adam Levine.
Well, yeah. I was working with a production friend of mine, Tommy Allen, and he was living in Malibu, and he heard they were actually called Kara's Flowers before they were Maroon 5, and he heard them playing at a party at a beach party, and he went over to them and said, "Hey, you guys are spectacular. We'd like to take you in the studio." So we went and did a whole record with them.
Oh,
So I spent a number of months out on the West Coast recording their first record, Kara's Flowers record.
Much more rocky, I remember, John.
Yeah, it was more rock. It was more guitar oriented, and I mean, even their breakthrough record was kind of guitar, but it was much more, I guess I'll say R&B oriented when they came back as Maroon 5. Basically, they did Kara's Flowers. It didn't quite get off the ground. They broke up and they got back together as Maroon 5 after going to Five Towns College. Actually, they came.
Five Towns College out on Long Island.
Yes, they came from the West Coast, from Hollywood, basically.
Adam Levine went to Five Towns College.
Yes.
Oh, I'm going to
Adam-
him the next time I interview him.
Adam and Jesse Carmichael, they both went there, and so when they regrouped as Maroon 5, they added another. It was the same 4 guys. They added another guy, James Valentine, who we didn't work with, but everybody else, was in the band.
What kind of guy was that? I mean, when you met Adam, I mean, that voice and all that ink.
There was he didn't have all the ink then.
Oh,
he
really?
didn't have any ink. No, he was a youngster, but we knew. I mean, we knew he was extremely talented, and what a lot of people don't know is he would pick up the guitar and do the solo like that we wanted. Like we'd say, all right, we need a solo here, and he'd pick it up and he'd do this wild stuff that was just, I mean, anything that came out of Adam was just spot on. He was just, you just knew it.
It's great that you got a chance to, to get a look-see before he reached his.
Yeah, it was fun. It was a fun project actually, and Adam was kind enough on the what's it called, The Voice, when they
Right
asked
now,
him,
yeah, The Voice has become, but even that show, there's been a lot of
yeah,
accusations about how they
yeah,
determine who the winner is. It's there are a lot of
yeah.
controversies.
And that,
But I think he gave John some recognition on The
well, it's what,
Voice.
yeah. They asked each one of them who the judges were, what was their chair turnaround moment, and
And he mentioned you.
yes,
That's great. You
yeah,
don't hear that. You're very
no,
rarely hear that.
but it was true. We were, we spent a lot of time with them.
Now, you guys are active, because I know with Patrick, you're dying of pancreatic cancer. You're involved with some charities. Can you talk about that a little bit?
Yeah, I thought about after Patrick passed from pancreatic cancer, what, what we could do to try to give back or do something in his honor. So I did a cold call to the Pancreatic Cancer Action Network because I found out that Lisa Swayze was donating her time and energy there. And the woman that picked up, Pamela Acosta, was the founder of, of the Pancreatic Cancer Action Network. And I said, we'd like to do something. And I think what we'd like to do is take the demos, which I sang Time of My Life and Hungry Eyes, along with Time of My Life had a duet with Rochelle Capelli. And so they actually filmed the movie to our demos.
Wow.
And so we took those demos along with this other song called Someone Like You, which is in the stage play Dirty Dancing.
Wow.
And we put those three songs together and we sell them on Facebook. So you go to Dirty Dancing Demos and you can own a piece of history. And we've donated all the money that comes in to the Pancreatic Cancer Action Network, about $25,000.
That's great. Look, Eddie, every little bit helps, man. I mean,
Absolutely.
That's
So that's
great.
from John, myself, and Donnie.
That's very nice. What are you guys working on now?
John, I think, is doing his, he had a solo album, which was really cool because I didn't know John as a singer, so more of a, songwriter, producer, bass player, and so he started, John, tell him the story how you all of a sudden had a top 25 record last year.
Well, yes. Basically, that barn over there,
Nice.
I
It's a recording studio.
put a studio in there, and to sort of start checking the sonics of it, I put my son in there with a drum kit, and we started recording stuff. And one of the songs was another song that Frank and I had written from. It was a movie called Avenging Angel.
Yeah.
That what's his name? Sylvester Stallone.
Yes, and Anthony Quinn.
Was Anthony
Quinn was my neighbor.
Yes, he was.
Oh, really?
He was the older gentleman that he was protecting.
So the song was in the movie, sung by Steve Holy. It's a song that Frank and I wrote called "You're the Only One," and it was never released. Steve Holy never, he sang it in the movie, but it was never released. So I kept thinking, let me, record the song the way I always heard it in my head, and see if we can't get somebody else to cover it. And when it came to time to put a voice on it, I threw my voice down on it, and people liked it. So I started going with some other songs, and before you knew it, I had 11 songs, and I put out a record. And the last two songs I decided to put on there were a version of Hungry Eyes and The Time of My Life. And for Hungry Eyes, I'm thinking, how can I do these iconic songs that isn't silly or trying to compete. And my son, as I said, he's a filmmaker, but he's also a drummer. He said, well, a lot of modern indie rock bands are sort of channeling 80s synth pop, which Hungry Eyes was kind of.
Right.
So I took that cue and, listened to some of I had been listening to bands like Tame Impala and a couple of others, Alex G, and just to stay kind of contemporary. And so I heard what they were doing, and I gave it that treatment. And lo and behold, as Frankie said, It made the Billboard top 22, number 22.
Pretty good, man.
And the
You
headline,
just never know, you know?
well, the headline said, the headline that Billboard put in for the article was Dirty Dancing 33 years later, still spawning hits, which is
They could have done without the 33 years, you know?
Well,
just
you
like
know what,
women
I don't
don't want to
care.
reveal their age, you know?
Nah,
We
who
got a little
gives a-
pride.
You know what? That's what's great about it. I don't care.
Yeah,
I don't care.
you know.
You know what I mean? It's like
Age is superfluous.
exactly. And I'm because of our good fortune, I don't really have to worry about it. I'm doing music.
You're living the dream, man. How many people,
Living the dream.
make a living as a songwriter and then to have an
Yes,
Academy Award,
absolutely.
Grammys? I mean,
Without a doubt.
you've done it all, you know?
You know
the
what? A really cool moment for me when John was having that success with Hungry Eyes was that that song I wrote in Russia, One World, with Sergei, with the blind Estonian,
Ray Charles.
Pamela Filipponi, who was the other songwriter, and I re-recorded it, and we said, let's put it out for charity. So we did so, and it was on the charts, number 25, when John was number 22.
What are the odds?
You guys, you know?
What are the odds exactly? And what are the odds of that?
Unbelievable.
That's
30
great.
years later.
I'll tell you, fellas, it's really been great talking to you. I feel like I know you. Really, really great interview. Thank you for coming on The Alarmists. Franke Previte, John Dinicola. I actually said their names right. I get to live. You get to
You
live
win
to
the
watch
prize.
this, ladies and gentlemen. The Alarmists. Thank you, guys.
Yeah.
To be continued.
Jesse,
Thanks for having us.
All right, man. You too. All right.
Fun.
Stay
See you.
safe. Bye, man.
Yeah.